Hello and welcome to the Footy Accumulators betting show with me, Will Perry, on the right of a front three with former Bayern Munich striker Alan McInally leading the line, and James Vickers, our betting expert, causing trouble on the left. I put you in the middle, Al, because I didn't think your legs had it on the right or the left. So we'll just run it work as we always do every week for you, and we'll set you up.
But hang on, Will, I want to know, are you Neymar or Mbappe either side of me?
Oh, well, I tell you what, let's James be Neymar. He's more of a showman, isn't he? I'll be Mbappe. I'll do the hard yards. Boys, what a final we've got. I mean, of course, I would have loved City in there, but Bayern into the Champions League final for the 11th time. I think only Real Madrid have competed in more of those. PSG playing in their first Champions League final. It's going to be thrilling, Al, isn't it? We've got Bayern Munich. I mean, is it fair to say the best team in world football right now, probably up against one of the best front threes in world football right now?
Yeah, I think that's fair, Will. Delighted for the lads. I mean, as you guys know already, I mean, I had two semi-finals, beat by AC Milan, who went on to win it, and beat by Red Star Belgrade, who went on to win it. So it's really hard to take. Lyon will be smarting, they really genuinely will, and so will Leipzig. But hey, these two teams are probably the best in Europe at the moment, with the best flair players, the best defenders, and a midfield that's just so good at the moment. If the final's going to be fantastic, and obviously everybody knows where I lie in terms of who I want to win it, but I don't think this will just be as easy as everybody maybe thinks for Bayern Munich.
Yeah, James, PSG early odds are out 12-5 with Mansion Bet. Of course, Bayern Munich 1-1 evens favourites. Al's already cashed out. He's cashed out his. I'm going to out him. He's cashed out his PSG bet, which he put on. I think. What did you get on odds on that about 10 months ago?
In November, October, and I cashed out at 146, which is not too bad. So 3-10. It's like betting 50 quid on a 3-1. But I cashed out for the simple reason I don't think that PSG will beat Bayern.
Yeah, you think that as well, James? Bayern the favourites and deservedly so.
Yeah, I think so. They were a little bit shaky in the first 10 minutes against Lyon. Big semi-final. No German team has been in the final since 2013, so understandably shaky. But yeah, I just can't look past Bayern Munich. They were fantastic again last night. And some of the chances that they missed last night that they were putting in against Barcelona, it could have been 4 or 5 last night. So pretty confident in them. It's just going to be how they handle that front three that you've mentioned, particular Neymar and Mbappe on the night will go a long way to deciding who wins it.
Yeah. When you look at some of the stats out ahead of this one, your old team Bayern, ridiculous side. I mean, they're on the longest unbeaten run across Europe's top 5 leagues, 29 games, 28 wins, just the one draw, 97 goals in that run as well, which I think is a 3.4 on average a game. They're the 4th team in Champions League history to get past 40 goals in a single campaign, and they've already, of course, won 2 trophies this season, so they're on for a treble. They've scored 100 goals in all comps to claim that 30th Bundesliga title, and of course they've lifted the German Cup as well. Your old mate, Hansi Flick, what a debut campaign for him.
Oh, absolutely incredible. And I go back to what we spoke about, my goodness, way back when we started doing the Football Accumulators betting show, about him working with Joachim Löw when Germany won the World Cup in Brazil, and he then took a step back and came back into the game, then obviously got his opportunity at Bayern. So his pedigree is pretty good in terms of his learning, coaching, and being involved with the DFB. Not only he was a player at Bayern Munich, he was a good football player. He wasn't the first choice football player. He wasn't absolutely top level, but he was a good player and realises, that midfield job that people have to have. And if you see what happens with Bayern, he likes midfield players to get forward. That's what Hansi Flick was like. That's how he played. Generally how he played. Coming from, the ball would either come from fullbacks, and whether it was me up top or with Mihailovic, he was bombing into the corners, etc., to try and stretch everybody. So he's done a fantastic job. I just want to go quickly to when James was talking about, so amazing when you say Bayern were a little ropey. Teams are going to have that. And I'll tell you right now, Bayern, although they're favourites even money, there will be a spell in the game when you think PSG are flying here. They've really pinned Bayern back. But it's the mental, not attitude, but just the strength to say, we know we're not going to have the ball for 90 minutes, but to make sure everybody does their job right, we'll get through this spell, and then we'll eventually turn you over. And I think that's exactly what happened with Bayern against Lyon last night.
Yeah, just finally on Hansi Flick, Al, because I'm fascinated with these things. You obviously know him well, and you've been in training with him and played games. You know about his mentality, what he's like. Seems a very likable character from the outside. But did you ever think that he would be that sort of guy that, you'd be all those years on talking about him in a Champions League final in the dugout, having already, got 2 trophies this season? Far away from legendary status, but he's going the right direction, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to be a legend as a player, but he's certainly probably just about there, to be fair, because he's simply changed the fortunes of Bayern Munich, one of the biggest teams in Europe. The honest answer is, well, probably no. I mean, I'll never forget, we used to play backgammon. When we went away all the time, we played backgammon. There was 3 or 4 of us. We'd sit in the balcony, and Hansi was over.
You guys are crazy. Backgammon. Crazy.
I know, listen, we're really we're tripping the light fantastic there. It's because we were training at 7 in the morning. We're training 3 times a day. I was like, I ain't going out for a beer. I'll just stay in and play backgammon. I think he still owes me money, actually. But nevertheless, even back then, he's a really nice guy, quite a quiet guy. He's not like a baller and a raver, etc., etc. And he certainly wasn't like the one in the team that was going to be coming in at 3 in the morning. But he's a studious kind of guy. So maybe if you think back then, what we know now, then it maybe makes a bit more sense that he was going to be eventually a sort of teacher of and knowledge of football that he's taken in, and all of a sudden he's turned the fortunes of Bayern Munich round unbelievably. And remember, the people that's there, the likes of the Beckenbauer and the Rummenigge and Uli Hoeneß, know him personally anyway. He knows them, and things have gone on just perfectly well.
He sounds like a German Brendan Rodgers. Everyone says that about Brendan Rodgers with his notepad out when he was a player.
Kind of.
Right, boys, we're going to talk about first goal scorers in this Champions League final on Sunday. It's going to be a brilliant one, isn't it? PSG against Bayern Munich, Sunday night in Lisbon. I'll tell you what, I'll start it off. I'm not going to be Mr. and Mrs. Predictable like you two and go Neymar. I know what you're thinking. I can see it, James. I'm going to go for Mr. Bayern Munich, Mr. Thomas Müller. Loves the big stage, 4 goals in the Champions League this season, 14 in all comps. I absolutely love what he's all about, his passion, his character, his heart. I think I need to check his passport if there's one criticism I'd have. There's no way he's 30 years old. He needs a new moisturiser. We'll get him sorted for that. But I'm going to go for Mr. Thomas Müller, 8-1. 8-1, James. First goal scorer, Sunday's Champions League final.
Yeah, I like the odds of that. As you were saying, Mr. Predictable there, I was looking down the odds, and I'm going to shy away from the obvious ones. I'm going to go Ivan Perisic, who playing out on the left. I think PSG are going to be that concentrated on keeping Lewandowski quiet, Gnabry quiet, who was absolutely fantastic in the Lyon game. And Perisic, every time I see him, he is that man for the big occasion. He isn't the flashiest player, but he always produces that 7, 8 out of 10 game when Bayern Munich need it. And down that left as well, you got Alphonso Davies banking on constantly down the left, and that opens those little pockets up for Perisic where he's so good. So I think Perisic at 10-1 is an absolutely fantastic price for him, and you can see him nicking a goal, same as how he did in the quarterfinal. So yeah, I'm pretty confident with Perisic. Obviously, similar reasons to you, Will. I think he's a fantastic footballer and trying to stay away from the obvious as well. No doubt, Alan will go for someone like Lewandowski or Neymar.
Well, I was about to set him up. We'll say, he'll go for Serge Gnabry after his 2 goals in that semi-final. You're going to go
Guys,
for
you two have been drinking. There's one player that when he's pulling his boots on, he brushes his teeth, he goes for a loaf of bread, or he has a cup of tea, all he can see himself is scoring a goal. The boy has, he was in loan at West Brom. I don't think he signed for West Brom. He was in loan at West Brom, I think, from Arsenal, and he scores a goal in the Champions League semi-final that you think, wow. He's then not hanging away out on the touchline when Lewandowski should have scored. He's in the right place to say thanks very much. This boy can only see himself scoring goals. And James just mentioned Alphonso Davies down the left-hand side. He will run down the left-hand side, cut the ball back, and Serge Gnabry with his left foot will go, thank you very much, 1-0, 5-1.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Well, look, us idiots, we went too far off where we are, a little double last week because we had first covers last with Manchin Bet. and Lewandowski scoring last, and Mbappe let us down. But that means then, boys, for the final, none of us are going for Robert Lewandowski, 5-2, favourite for first goal scorer. Kylian Mbappe, 9-2. Gnabry, as Al mentioned, third favourite on Mansion Bet's list at 5-1, but none of us going Neymar as well. So there we go for our Champions League final, first goal scorers. I'm going Thomas Muller at 8, Perisic for James, 10-1, and Gnabry for Mr. McAnally at 5. And we'll get that boosted hopefully by Mansion Bet as well.
We're all going for a Bayern first scorer, so I'm presuming you two think that Bayern will also win at even money then.
Ooh, I think so. I think, yeah, we do little doubles on those as well. First goal scorers, Muller, Perisic and Gnabry, and Bayern to win it. Look,
yeah.
You mentioned Gnabry there, Al, and you're going for him for first goal scorer. Let's talk more about him because he's 25 years old, right?
Yeah.
Pure quality. And I think for those who didn't see much of him when he was in England, they certainly saw that Champions League game when he absolutely walloped Tottenham and then, tweeted that North London is still red. He's a big place in his heart for Arsenal. He was at Stuttgart's academy. Arsenal stuck him into their academy and then he got into the first team, but he had nasty injuries, didn't he? And I think he only played about 10 games. He's 25 years old. So, James, he's the same age as Raheem Sterling. If you're a manager now and you've got 150 million quid to sign a player, do you sign Sterling or do you sign Gnabry?
Oh, I'd aim more towards the side of Gnabry. I really like Sterling. I think he's a great player, fits really well in that City team. I think Gnabry, even though Sterling does get goals, you look at the Lyon game that City played in where Sterling missed that open net towards the end of the game. Sterling, obviously, he's getting better with his finishing. I just think there is another level that he can go to, Sterling. I see him as a player who can still kick on. I think Gnabry at the moment will probably guarantee you in the bigger games a more consistent performance. You've seen that in the semi-final against Lyon. He was absolutely fantastic. Could have had a hat-trick in the first half. There were 2 or 3 chances where he just flashed it past the post when he was already on 2 goals. So I think for what he's done for Bayern Munich, especially in the Champions League this season, you mentioned the Tottenham game, which he was absolutely sensational in. He was very good in the Chelsea game over both legs as well. So I'd add more towards the side of Serge Gnabry at the moment. Probably me thinking when he was at Arsenal, sort of to sidetrack, I would have been about sort of 17, 18. We used to play FIFA back in the day, and there was Gnabry and Zelalem, I'm not sure what's happened to him, but I always used to put them in against my mate and say that them two will be 2 breakout players. So when he got shipped back to Arsenal from West Brom, I was thinking, oh God, what a shocker I've had here. So all these years later, it's nice to be proved right by that shout. But yeah, I'd probably err towards Gnabry more so for what he's done in the Champions League, but that's not to say that Sterling isn't a fantastic player.
Look, Al, this is our 25 seconds where we make Tony Pulis look pretty silly. He was on loan at West Brom, Serge Gnabry, when they were in the Premier League. 2015-2016 season. He couldn't get in the West Brom team. That was less than 4 years ago. Tony Pulis saying that he couldn't get him fit. He wasn't right. Arsenal eventually called him back, and then he got sold to Werder Bremen. Bayern picked him up later. He's now a regular in the German team, and of course a starter, an absolute assured starter in that Bayern.
Incredible. Incredible. I will say, remember, we're talking 5-6 years ago, so he was only 19, 20 years old. So players develop at different levels, Will, to be fair. And it was probably a bit much for him. And you talked about some injuries that he got, and that wasn't the case. I'll tell you what Bayern have given him, or maybe even getting away and getting to Werder Bremen, where he'd be encouraged to get forward and get in the box. And you don't see him hanging outside. You don't see a lot of negativity from him, There's a lot of times when I watch games now and players in wide areas come back in and they come back in and they don't really look for that ball forward. There's not many times that Serge Gnabry doesn't look to pass the ball forward or get forward into the box. That's a big thing for a football player when a manager says to you, look, I know you've got defensive duties, but you're a player for us that can get in the box and get his goals, so go that way. And I think his first thought is to be in a position where it can hurt the opposition. And there's absolutely no question, Will and James, that help from Hansi Flick and even being in a team that play the way Bayern do has helped Serge Gnabry. But he's picked the baton up, Will. It's not been too much for him so far. And you're asking James about who he would take. I would still take Sterling because he's a fabulous, fabulous guy. Fabulous football player. But if Serge Gnabry does it next year and does it the following year again, then, he'll be an absolute steal at what Bayern got him at. And incidentally, I mean, you're talking about Bayern bringing players in and you expect them to spend 100 million. I think it was, it's probably only Neuer that's cost them the guts of 35, 40 million.
Yeah.
I mean, Lewandowski was a free. Gnabry cost them not an awful lot.
Yeah.
Perisic, you know, he's in a team where they're doing the right thing, but going forward is his first thought, and I think that's helping his game.
Interesting, isn't it, the scouting systems in Germany, how you've now got these players like Jadon Sancho went for 10 million quid and Gnabry for peanuts as well. And now Premier League teams will be looking to spend, you know, 3-figure millions to get them back. 8 goals in his last 8 matches, Serge Gnabry. In the competition in the Champions League, he's been directly involved in 6 goals in his last 4 games as well. So just finally on him then, James and Al, where is he? If you know, Al's going to take Sterling, James is going to take Gnabry, where is he then from being in the elite of the top players, of being in that bracket of players that clubs want to sign? And I'm talking Real Madrid, I'm talking Barcelona, I'm talking Bayern Munich is one of those teams. But, you know, if they had that money, where is he?
I think he's probably a season or 2 away from that, as Al said. I think
I agree.
What he's done this season, if he does that for the next 2 years, I think then he will kick himself into that bracket. At the moment, obviously, he did really well at Werder Bremen and Hoffenheim, which obviously earned him the move to Bayern Munich, and he has kicked on since then. I think he needs to show that consistently now over the next 2 or 3 years. Obviously, I don't think he will just be a flash in the pan, one season wonder playing in that Bayern Munich team. I think he will go from strength to strength and get better. But I think, another season or 2 at that level, and then we can start talking about him in the sort of that kind of bracket of attracting, you know, interest from massive clubs around Europe.
Yeah, well,
I agree. I agree with that. To be fair, I think he's a couple of years away. But I think the consistency in his game. If you look at a picture of him when he was at West Brom and Arsenal, and look at him now, not only is he's obviously more mature naturally, it's years, you know, 5 or 6 years we're talking, but physically he's a different specimen as well, which means he contributes more physically to the team and mentally to what Bayern want him to do. And you said something really important there, Will, about bringing players back. Leroy Sané is a perfect example of that. Yeah. How Bayern have picked him up. I don't think Man City should let Leroy Sané go. I think there's a place for him in the team. And just wait to see him go in a year and a half time, Sané. Never mind next year. So he's certainly playing in a team that never stands still. So he can't either. But in terms of top bracket, if he does it for the next 2 years, then Bayern will do well to keep him. Or they'll certainly need to give him a 5-year contract on big bucks. Yeah,
that is a scary, scary thought, isn't it? One that I've forgotten about, that you add Leroy Sané into that Bayern team.
Amazing.
How going to be next year, and how pleased someone like Robert Lewandowski is going to be, because the service for him is going to be ramped up as well. Lewandowski, right? He will have this record, won't he? This Champions League record in his sights. I know he probably could have had a couple of hat-tricks in the last 2 games and has only ended up with a couple. But Lewandowski, 55 goals in 46 games this season. That's worth repeating. 55 goals in 46 games this season. And of course, has become only the second player to score 15 or more goals in the Champions League in a single campaign after a certain Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo, who's managed it on just the 3 occasions. So Cristiano Ronaldo's record, guys, is 17, right? Lewandowski's 2 behind that. Champions League final. Is he going to break it? Is he going to equal it? What do you think, James?
I don't know if he's going to break it. I wouldn't be surprised if he equals it. I think in that Bayern Munich PSG game, I think there will be goals. I think both teams are better suited to going forwards. They've scored a lot of goals throughout the competition so far this season. I don't see it being a cagey final. Will he break it? He'd have to get a hat-trick, and we've all shied away from him as first goal scorer. So does that mean Bayern Munich are going to score 4 goals on the night? Not too sure. I think he will get at least 1 in the final. I wouldn't be surprised if he equals it, but I think breaking it would be, you know, a hell of an achievement to get a hat-trick in the final. And obviously, if he's getting a hat-trick in the final, I think it's safe to say that Bayern are going to win the Champions League trophy. So what about that for a story? Him getting a hat-trick, us winning me winning my first goal scorer bet with a Perisic opener, and then that opens the floodgates for Lewandowski, and they bring the Champions League home for a treble in Hansi Flick's first season in charge.
I was right. He has been drinking.
Al, you tell us why, and I know we've done this before when we've talked a lot about the Bundesliga season and how that sort of curtailed after the lockdown. But just tell everyone why he is so good, so versatile, Robert Lewandowski, why everyone in the world would want him in their team.
So comfortable, left foot, right foot. You can give it to him in tight areas and he'll protect the ball. He's quick over the ground, and you can cross the ball into the box as of last night, and bang, see you later, it's a goal. He's not got everything, but he's not far away from having it. They trust him because he's so, I think, you know, when you talk about those goals, well, and the stats ridiculous. He's a great football player. He could play in Man City. He could play at Liverpool. No problem. He's such a good player. He's a clever player, and he's strong, by the way. And do you know what else he is? And they talk about this old-fashioned centre forward. He's brave. He's really brave, and he doesn't cheat. How many times have you seen him fall to ground by giving it a little touch on him? Not many. Not many, if any, actually. He's just such a good football player, Will. There's plenty of things to his game, and ridiculously enough, from last year or 2 years ago, he's probably a better football player now than he was back then. It's as simple as that. Mind you, it does help when you've got the service that he gets, but he works his tail off as well and doesn't accept 60, 70%. That's why he's one of the best.
Yeah, incredible player. And what a stage for him in the final. Can he get that record 2 away from equaling Ronaldo's record at Real Madrid? That was in 2013-14. On to the combined PSG Bayern Champions League final team, which is going to be, I'm excited about this. I had a little look at it. I think we're agreeing on quite a few things. We're going to go 4-3-3 just so we can sandwich in as many attacking players as possible. That's right, James. Now I think we have six up front, essentially. But all agreed, we'll move on quickly. In goal, Manuel Neuer. And we're all agreed also on, I think, the whole of the back four, aren't we? Alphonso Davies, we can't look past him at left back. Alaba at centre back. And we're going Thiago Silva and Kimmich, aren't we, at right back? I mean, Pavard's been brilliant, hasn't he, for PSG, and probably more of an out-and-out right back, bearing in mind that Kimmich can play all over the field. But there we go. There's our back five. Neuer, Davies, Alaba, Thiago Silva, and Kimmich. On to midfield. That's three then. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's come back to the midfield three. Al, you talk us through the front three, which I think is quite obvious, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I can't get Thomas Muller in, and I want him in. And I don't know whether we play him in the middle of the park or off the front three. We can't not play Neymar. We can't not play Mbappe, and we can't not play Mr. Goalscorer himself. So we have to go Mbappe, Neymar, or Lewandowski. So that leaves out Gnabry. It leaves out Perisic. It leaves out, I'm missing somebody, Muller. Sorry, thank you, James. Di Maria, who incidentally, I don't know who Manchester United got, but it wasn't that guy. I can assure you that. But we've got to go Mbappe, Neymar, and Lewandowski.
Yeah. Okay. So
now's the hard one for James.
Well, let's give it to James. I mean, look, can we just throw in Muller and Gnabry into that midfield three? We've got to have some balance to it. What are we thinking then for that three?
Yeah, need balance in there. I can't squeeze like Perisic, Gnabry, and Muller all together in there. It leaves us open at the back. I'm gonna go Thiago and Leon Goretzka as my two sitting. Yeah. I think Goretzka is my box to box. Will run all day. I'm going to go Thiago as the ball player. You know, he can turn himself out of a tight situation, keep us ticking over. And then a bit more offensive, I'm going to have Muller as like the number 10 in behind Lewandowski. So quite an attacking team if you've got Neymar and Mbappe on the wing. So I'll need Goretzka to do a hell of a lot of running.
See, that's why we need Marquinhos. We play Marquinhos in the middle, Goretzka there, and Alcantara that side. Because Marquinhos A is a goal threat, and B, he's our parachute defender.
Yeah. You're leaving out Thomas Muller.
I can't believe I'm leaving out Thomas Muller. I really can't. But I can't play him in the middle of the park, although he would do you a great job. But I'm thinking goal scorer, for and against, a defensive midfield player, Marquinhos in the middle, Goretzka's brilliant, and Alcantara can pass the ball all over the place. But you're right. I mean, it's a tough one. Who would you have, Will?
I mean, as I said, I absolutely love everything Thomas Muller's about. But if we're looking at a balance to that team, which is a bit boring to look at it, isn't it? But, you know, because otherwise we just sandwich all the names and we can play.
Neuer doesn't get in the game. We play Muller, Gnabry up top with the other three.
Let's balance it out. Let's put Marquinhos in then, shall we? So that makes our combined Champions League final team a 4-3-3, Neuer in goal, Davies left back, Alaba and Thiago Silva the centre backs, Kimmich at right back, midfield three of Thiago, Goretzka and Marquinhos, in the front three of Mbappe, Lewandowski and Neymar. That is quite a side. What are we going for, manager? That's an interesting one, isn't it? Tuchel or your man, Hansi?
Ooh, that's a good point. Who do we give the job to?
Tuchel's
We
done
need to give
quite
it to
a job there,
Hansi.
didn't
Need to give it to Hansi because he's had a mega season. Although if PSG win it, I'll be thinking, well, he's a good manager. Yeah, I'll go Hansi Müller. Yeah, I'll go Hansi.
Look, James,
Hansi Müller.
word on,
Hansi Flick.
we should have a Hansi Müller. I'm sure there is some Hansi Müller out there. Look, James, we've got to have a word quickly on Tuchel, haven't we? Because when you think back to Unai Emery and all the PSG managers of the past and that have failed in terms of the Champions League prize, and everyone talks about the QSI, Qatar owning PSG and the big prize, just the same as Manchester City being the Champions League. You can win as many Liga titles and French Cups as you want, but this is what they want. He's got them on that stage. First Champions League final ever, first European Cup final ever. Yeah,
I'm a little bit surprised he's done as well as he has done at PSG. Obviously, he was at Dortmund beforehand, and the reason he left Dortmund, he had really good season with them the year he left. The sort of main reason he left was he wasn't the best at controlling the egos in the dressing room at the time. There was obviously the Ousmane Dembele situation where he forced to move through to Barcelona. Aubameyang left and went to Arsenal. So to see him go to PSG and control those egos in that dressing room, and when you've got the likes of Neymar, Mbappe, Cavani, players like that, I'm staggered that he's done so well with them, given his problems at Dortmund. So he's obviously learned from that, no doubt, and he's a fantastic manager. So I'm not surprised in that sense that he's got them to the Champions League final. But yeah, as you said, winning Liga every season is a given at the moment for PSG. So, their bread and butter is Champions League football. He's got them to the final. I'd like to see them stick with him if they don't win the final, because he's had a fantastic season to get them there, to get them to their first European final. But I think it will be a step too far for them. But if he does win it, obviously I think we can then start talking about Tuchel in that same bracket as the likes of Klopp, Guardiola, to name a couple, because he's been that good consistently with his on-field sort of tactics over the last few seasons.
Yeah, well, look, it's going to be quite a final to look forward to. What are you going to be doing, Al, as a former Bayern player? Are you going to have a stein in your hand in that 17.5-acre garden in Cheshire with your lederhosen on?
Yes, basically, yeah. I've got a couple of things ready. I was going to have, you can't have empty at the house, so you can't have 500 people in your garden. So I've binned that. I won't go for a bath this time. I'll stay out and I'll just be, I'll be watching the game in the garden with a couple of steins, of which I should have brought a couple of steins out with you. I should have filled it up already and had a pre-celebration.
At which point we say gamble responsibly and drink responsibly. And look, I've just had a little flash through as well from City's Instagram, and the Premier League fixtures are out. It's coming thick and fast. And next time we're going to be talking about the beginning of that Premier League season. I can't tell you about anyone else apart from City. They've got a trip to Wolves on the 19th of September. They start a bit later than everyone else because of course, the Champions League. Enjoy the Champions League final. For all those additional stats and trends, as always, we ask you to go and have a look at the Footy Accumulators Betting Hub app. You can download that and check out all the bits and pieces that you need ahead of Sunday's final. The smart ACCA function, that's what you want to look at. Remember, you've got to be 18 plus to gamble. And please bet responsibly. See you next time, boys. We'll be talking Premier League. All the best. May the best team win. Bayern Munich against PSG on Sunday. Enjoy it.